Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, the show where we take the day's chaos, shine it up with spit, and pretend that counts as analysis. It is December 18th, 2025, and America woke up today like it always does, checking inflation, checking interest rates, and checking whether Congress accidentally set something on fire overnight. Spoiler: they did. So grab a seat, grab a sweet tea, grab a cousin who owes you money, because today's news is loaded up like a Waffle House hash brown, smothered, covered, and politically confused. Segment 1. Inflation slows down, but nobody knows why. Inflation dropped to 2.7%, which is either a Christmas miracle or the government forgetting to collect half its homework during that 43-day shutdown. The November CPI came out looking healthier than a deer on opening day, which is suspicious because retail stores basically body-slammed prices with discounts big enough to make you ask, is this legal or is someone hiding something in the back? Meanwhile, Powell says tariffs are still the thing cooking prices. Buddy, we know. Every time I go to buy bacon, I feel like I'm paying rent on the pig's childhood home. But the markets loved it. Stocks jumped, treasury yields fell, and mortgage rates didn't drop at all because banks treat good news the same way my Uncle Daryl treats salads. Pretend they don't exist. Segment 2. The labor market walks with a limp. Look, America gained 64,000 jobs in November, which sounds great until you remember we lost over 100,000 in October. That's like bragging you won $10 at the casino after losing your house. Unemployment is 4.6%, the highest since 2021, and everyone's acting shocked. Folks, half the country is working 2 jobs and doing DoorDash on horseback. Rednecks invented multitasking. Meanwhile, the Fed cut interest rates again, which is basically them saying, we tried everything else. Let's see if lowering the number makes people stop yelling. Segment 3. Congress punches itself in the healthcare debate. Republicans passed a healthcare bill without extending ACA subsidies, which expire in 2 weeks. That's right. 2 weeks until millions of people discover that insurance premiums are like fireworks. They only explode upward. Then 4 Republicans defected and signed the discharge petition to force a vote on extending subsidies anyway. When your own team rebels, that's not a caucus. That's a family reunion with police involvement. Trump said he'd hand out $2,000 checks to folks who need insurance, which is cute, but not how healthcare markets work. You can't give me a $2,000 gift card to Build-A-Bear and say I now have stable long-term medical coverage. But politically? Oh, it plays. It plays like a fiddle at a hootenanny. Segment 4. The Caribbean turns into a season finale. Boat strike number 26 just happened. 4 more people dead. And the U.S. is still seizing Venezuelan oil tankers like they're Black Friday doorbusters. Maduro reacted by ordering naval escorts for outgoing tankers because nothing says stable relationship, like 2 countries playing bumper boats with warships. Congress tried to restrict Trump's authority to keep striking boats, but the House voted it down 216 to 210. That's close enough that you know there were staffers in the back Googling what happens when 2 navies are mad at each other, and lawmakers want Pete Hegseth to release video footage of the strikes. Buddy, if those videos get out, somebody's gonna turn them into TikToks with sea shanties. Segment 5. Taiwan gets the biggest weapons box ever. Taiwan just got an $11.1 billion weapons package from the U.S. HIMARS, drones, javelins, and probably a partridge in a pear tree. China, as usual, responded like someone who just found out their ex is dating a Navy SEAL. Globally, conflict risks for 2026 are rated highly likely, which is the diplomatic version of saying, brace yourselves, y'all. Meanwhile, in Sudan, over 1,000 civilians were massacred earlier this year by RSF forces, and the UN finally dropped the full report. Every region on Earth is acting like it skipped anger management. Segment 6. Fusion power, but make it Trumpy. Trump Media and Technology Group merged with TAE Technologies in a $6 billion fusion energy megadeal. Yes, fusion, the sun-powered stuff. Truth Social is now part of a nuclear energy venture. This country is a Mad Libs book. Devin Nunes and Mikkel Binderbauer will be co-CEOs, and Trump Jr. is on the board. TMTG stock skyrocketed because investors love anything that sounds like the future, even if it comes from the same company, whose last big innovation was a website that crashes when someone posts a GIF. The goal? Build a 50-megawatt fusion plant starting next year. Rednecks have been trying to build homemade reactors for decades. We call them backyard grills that got out of hand. Segment 7. Indiana rejects the redistricting shakedown. Indiana Republicans said no to the White House-backed mid-decade redistricting plan. The Senate voted 31-19 against it, with 21 Republicans joining Democrats. This is what happens when you threaten to strip funding for roads and National Guard bases. Hoosiers don't play about roads. If Heritage Action walks up saying, "We won't pave anything," Indiana will straight up vote out their own cousins. J.D. Vance allegedly showed up like a door-to-door salesman selling maps nobody wanted. The GOP was supposed to gain seats. Now analysts are calling it a wash. Nothing says leadership like losing a fight in a state you carried by double digits. Segment 8. America versus Climate Science, Round 12. The administration moved to dissolve NCIR, the top-tier climate lab in Boulder, calling it a source of climate alarmism. Buddy, if predicting hurricanes is alarmism, then meteorologists are basically doomsday preppers with degrees. They also rebranded NREL as National Laboratory of the Rockies, which sounds like a ski lodge gift shop. Meanwhile, 16 states and D.C. are suing because the feds froze over $2 billion in EV charging funds. We got scientific institutions fighting for their lives, states fighting for chargers, and somewhere an electric Ford F-150 is crying softly at a dead outlet. Segment 9. Space rocks, medicine, and science that sounds fake but isn't. Interstellar Comet 3. I/ATLAS swung by Earth, showing off a 250,000-mile X-ray glow. Scientists call it a secret wobble, which sounds like a dance move my cousin invented after 3 Bud Lights. Meanwhile, breakthroughs include a microbiome-friendly super antibiotic, a pre-symptom Alzheimer's pill, a sleep apnea tablet so you don't have to look like Darth Vader at night, and an AI-powered robotic hand device that helps stroke patients move using brainwaves. Medical science is now one step away from giving us robot arms. And frankly, I think that's great, because my relatives already wave them around like inflatable tube men. Segment 10. Dan Bongino resigns and the travel ban expands. Dan Bongino is stepping down as deputy director of the FBI, reportedly after clashing with the DOJ over sensitive investigations. That's Washington for somebody threw a binder and nobody will admit who. Meanwhile, Trump expanded the travel ban to include 20 more countries. When the map of banned nations is longer than the Cheesecake Factory menu, something's happening. Immigration enforcement continues intensifying. Climate labs are shutting down. Fusion reactors are being announced, and Congress is fighting itself. If the Founding Fathers saw this, they'd go right back to writing and add a footnote that says, "We should have included a user manual." In conclusion, December 18th proves the country is running on caffeine, duct tape, and whatever the Fed has left in its toolbox. Inflation slowed down, the labor market coughed, Congress yelled at itself, Venezuela is ready to joust on water, fusion is somehow political now, Indiana rebelled, climate science is wrestling the government, science is inventing Star Trek medicine, and leadership shakeups continue. As always, stay informed, stay poorly educated, and stay ready for tomorrow. Because this country never sleeps. It just occasionally blinks real slow.